Hello, 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 hello. I know this is somewhat of a pop up given the fact that I just scheduled this probably about 10 minutes ago. Nevertheless, this is something that was on my heart to come out and talk with you guys about. This is an area that I'm strongly called to. I am called, anointed, and appointed to address idol worship. Amazingly enough, I started the other day. I wrote up some pointers on Sunday because Sunday I was thinking about what I wanted to go live about. And one of them was idol worship. And I wrote up some notes and I just saw them. But I didn't finish writing them up. I got sleepy. That's what ended up happening. I ended up getting sleepy and going to bed. And they're just there. So they're kind of, yeah, it's not that many. I don't think it's less than a page of notes. It's less than a page of notes. But we're going to get into this very shortly. What triggered, or I won't even say triggered, what gave me confirmation that this is something that the Lord wants me to deal with is I just had a meeting with some of the people that are going to likely be on the set for the music video production we have. Right after that, me and some of my students broke out into a discussion about idol worship, and I told them a story, and it got my passion to flow. And I want to tell you guys the story. I shared this with you guys before. Oh, this victim's mentality. I have a lot of notes, but I shared this story with you guys before, and I want to share it with you again about something I came across. It should be new. I just saw it right here, right here, right here. But something that I saw probably a few months ago. So we had one of my brothers in Christ on the audio, and I was telling the ladies a story about some young guys that I had came in contact with. Um, and I was showing them how he relates to the story. So anyhow, before I go into that story, because I don't want to have to retell it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't want to have to retell it. Do me a favor, like and share. I like to have at least 100 people on live before I start talking. If I don't, then we always have a lot of people in the chat saying, "What are you talking about?" Or could you retell this or what have you? So I like to have as many people on here as potentially possible. Facebook, do me a favor. Be sure to like and share. Let me know that you're here. I am on StreamYard, which means that I can see the number of likes. So right now I can see the number of people that are on. So currently we have 86 people on YouTube, and we have 4 people that liked on Facebook. So I can see that. So I always like to see the numbers go up before I start getting engaged. So Black Diamond, you're awesome. Thank you. God bless you. God bless you. So still got a few more to go before I can go into this. I do believe I'm confident that this is going to bless you. As you very well may know, anytime before I teach, I'm going to pray first before I come out here and teach, so that I don't say anything that comes out of my flesh or what have you. But I wanted to deal with this issue because it is an issue that I have struggled with, and a large number of people struggle with this issue. A large number of people struggle with this issue. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that I did. Today's going to be somewhat of a story time, but I'm going to talk about some of the pointers, some of the things that I learned in my journey of deliverance from idol worship So the story I was telling the young ladies, I've shared it on YouTube before, so maybe you heard me talk about it. One day I went shopping, and it's this shopping center, and I was coming out of one of the stores. I was coming out of Burlington, I think, and I was walking past this young man. Now I have to learn to start carrying cash on me because I don't carry cash on me. So I was passing by this young man, and he asked me if I had any money to spare or what have you. He looked about 21, 22-ish. He asked me if I had any money to spare, and I told him no, I didn't have any cash on me. And I don't know if I asked him if he had a cash up or not, but I kept walking. And I just told him, I said, "No, I'm so sorry. Don't have any cash on me." He's like, "No, that's okay." And I said, "Okay." So I kept walking, and I passed by a guy that looked even younger, just a few feet down. Passed by this younger looking guy. And I passed by him. He said, "Hey, do you have any spare change?" And I told him, I said, "No, I don't have anything on me." I'm pretty sure I asked him if they had Cash App. and neither one of them had a cash app or what have you. But when I went and got in my car, the second guy had passed by. I couldn't get him off my mind because he looked so young. He looked so young. I couldn't get him off my mind. So I got in my car and I kept thinking, you'll regret if you pull out of this parking lot without having a conversation with these young guys. Um, I did offer to get them something to eat because there were restaurants in the area, and I remember the guy saying that they weren't hungry, they were okay. He said that the money he was collecting is so they could have a hotel room to sleep because it was forecasting to rain that particular day. Anyhow, and trust me, this relates to idolatry. Anyhow, I ended up, I got in my car and I just couldn't get it out of my mind. So I got back out of my car and I walked over to the other guy because they're kind of like stores apart, a few feet away, but they're still stores apart. I don't know that they are affiliated with each other. Uh, so I go over to the guy that looks about 16, 17 years old. And I asked him how old he was. I don't remember what he told me. I'm pretty sure he said 17. I'm pretty sure maybe 17, 18. He was a young kid. And I said, "What are you doing out here?" And he said, his mom put him out. Um, he said his mother put him out. He said because I think he said because he had got into it with her boyfriend. He said no, he said he got in trouble at school. And then he said there was some stuff with her boyfriend as well. And I'm gonna tell you something. Immediately I got angry. Immediately I started feeling frustration because when I hear a mother is doing that to her kids, when she got her a man, I know what that is. And I know that there's some mothers on here say, Tiffany, you don't know everybody's story. I had a little knucklehead kid or what have you. Realistically speaking, I completely understand that. But at the end of the day, there are alternatives. There are different things that you can do, things that you should do, things that you should not do, or what have you. And if I'm thinking right, he said he got into a fight at school. If I'm thinking right, he said he got in trouble at school. Somebody was trying to bully him. But if I'm thinking right, if I remember it correctly, it was something about her boyfriend. I remember the boyfriend being in the conversation. So the other young man comes walking over there. He walks over there and the guy, as he's talking to me, he said, "This is my brother here." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Makes sense." And he was like, she put me out and my brother came out so he can protect, brother tried to stop her from putting him out. And the brother came out with him so that he can protect him. He didn't want him to be out in the streets. And he said, so they had been sleeping in a tent or what have you. And he said, whenever they got a little bit of money, they would get a hotel room, but they had been sleeping in a tent, for some time or what have you. And I asked him, has he tried to reach out to his mother? I told him, I said, wow, I may not agree with her method. I said, have you tried apologizing to to your mother? He said, I have. And he said, but she won't let me come back. He said, she feels like I need to stay out here a little bit longer. And I got angry. I was mindful that I didn't say anything to him, but I got upset because I knew what that was. I knew 9 times out of 10 he had an idol worshiper for a mother. He had a mother who had a boyfriend in her house, and the boyfriend likely had been, going off at the mouth about, how disrespectful her sons are or what have you. And now she at the house and he's pleased. Now she's at the house and he's pleased. He's not giving her hell anymore. He's lightened up on the warfare he's been giving her. So now she likes that. And you got to hear me. And I want you to hear me, brothers. You got to hear me. Be mindful that you don't engage yourself. Don't marry. Don't get in a relationship with a woman who idolizes you. Don't get in a relationship with a woman who idolizes you. While she will love her children to a certain extent, God is love. And I want you to understand how love works. Whenever you give, we have a measure of love because we were created in the image of God, in the likeness of God. We have a measure of love. But everything that we give to God, God increases. I want you to hear that. Everything that we give to God, God increases. Those who sow sparingly will reap sparingly. If you give God a teeny bit of love, then you know what? Either way, either he loves you back, but you won't receive his love. Meaning his love will surround you, but it won't be in you. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? His love will surround you, but it won't be in you. You won't have the ability to love other people. And I'm going to say something that's going to be bold and it's going to be frustrating. It's going to offend some people, but this is my call. This is my assignment. Idol worshipers, idol worshipers, people who worship another person, another thing, do not have the ability to love other people to the capacity in which they're supposed to be loved. They cannot even fully love their children. I will piss some mothers off with that. I will piss some fathers off with that. Sorry for my language, but I'm being realistic. You will love your kids instinctively. There's a different type of love that's instinctual. Instinctual is the same love that an animal can have, where I love this child, I'll protect this child, I'll do this. But your love is tested. Your love is tested. It's not tested because you provide a house for your kids, because you provide food for your kids. It's not if you're still with the man you have kids with, then a lot of times your kids are nothing but a soul tie between you and him. But your love is tested. Should that relationship end? Your true love for your kids is tested. Should that relationship end and you find yourself, one, the kids are blocking you or serving as a block, it's making it hard for you to get into another relationship. And now you want the kids to go live with your auntie, your cousin, your mama, your daddy, your uncle, or your ex, because they are blocking you from getting in a relationship, because they're blocking you. So there are people that will listen to this and you don't even realize that your love for your kids is not perfect. It's not whole. It is conditional, because what you give to God, God increases. So the kids, all of a sudden, they become a burden. And one of the evidences that they're a burden is that you start using them to hurt the father, not considering the fact that you're hurting them. I'm going to talk about idol worship today. I'm going to talk about it. You don't consider the fact that you're hurting them. You will take the father to court for the silliest of things. You will call and berate him or what have you. And then another evidence, because your love for your kids is tested when you find yourself in another relationship. When you find yourself dating somebody else in another relationship and old boy start complaining about your kids, because kids gonna be kids. Kids gonna have their moments of talking back. They're gonna have all these different moments or what have you, and you have to correct them. But whenever your kids start getting between you and your man, when your kids when you're sitting there with your idol and he looks you in the face and says, I don't know how much more I can deal with this, because your kids, that they don't have no respect, your kids this and that, and you start considering what to do with your kids. Oh, I'm going to call their daddy to tell their daddy, but then I'm mad at him because he was an idol that did not produce. So I'm mad at him, so I want to take him to court. I don't want to give him custody of his kids because I like taking his money. I'm trying to drain this joker. I'm mad at him. So I'm gonna find somebody or somewhere I can put these kids at. I'm gonna find somebody to put these kids off on. And this is why I tell guys, ladies, be mindful of who you have kids with. But men, you don't understand. If you get with an idol worshiper, your kids, she doesn't have the ability to fully, wholeheartedly love you. Why? Why? Because she doesn't love herself. You will love your neighbor. Your neighbor is anybody you come in contact with, especially on a steady basis. You will love your neighbor to the measure in which you love yourself. Yeah, are y'all catching it? You will love your neighbor to the measure in which you love yourself. If you don't love yourself, you cannot fully love your children because they are a product of you. If you don't fully love God, you cannot fully love yourself. If you don't fully love yourself, you cannot love your children, because you can sit there and say, I love them because they remind me of the daddy. No, that's idolatry. Idolatry is not the same as love. Idolatry is centered around, I don't think I can live without you. I'm terrified. I think you become my everything. Whether you acknowledge a person as your idol or not, idolatry is evident. You're talking to a former idol worshiper, and I'll get into that shortly. You're talking to somebody that came out of generations of idolatry, which meant that I was left with a curse and I had to confront that curse. I had to stand it face to face, and I can identify that thing. I can identify that thing. It manifests and it materializes itself in so many ways. But I can identify that thing because you can always tell idolatry. Because idolatry centers itself around self-preservation. Oh, who wants to call me? It's all about self-preservation. It's all about what I want. Idolatry, God said, you shall have no other gods before me. One of the things I preach, one of the things I teach, one of the things I need you to get you to understand is that when he says you shall have no other gods before me, he's dealing with the fact that anytime anything that comes before him is a god. See, if he's God, you won't have other gods. Baal worship, it's prevalent now. Baal worship never died. It's still prevalent now. There are Christian Baal worshipers. They just don't worship Baal by name, but they worship him in action. They worship him in thought. You know what Baal worship is? A form of polytheism. Baal worship is having multiple gods. You know how many Christians they have a God before Yahweh, but they still have Yahweh or they still claim him, and that's what makes them think that they're saved. That's what makes them believe that they're saved, is because they still go to church, because they lay hands, because they pray, because they may even prophesy, and they believe that because I've done this, because I cast out a demon, I'm saved. This is why Jesus said, many are going to come near me and they're going to say, Lord, didn't we prophesy your name, in your name did we cast out devils? And he's going to say, get away from me, for I never knew you. The word know deals with intimacy. He's saying you drew nigh me or near me with your mouths, but your heart was far from me. There was something that you wanted before me. You perverted your purpose in the earth, and you tried to make a dual citizenship between the kingdom of darkness and the kingdom of light. And you can't do that. You tried to have what you wanted and then try to do what I want. And there's going to be a conflict because you cannot serve two gods. Any deity that you serve requires a sacrifice. Any deity that you serve requires a sacrifice. Going back to that lady, I was so frustrated talking to those young guys and knowing that their mother had done that to them, but I wasn't surprised. Because whatever you are called to, you will come in contact with it a lot. I don't know who needed to hear that. Whatever issue you keep seeing, whatever issue you struggled with, whatever issue surrounds you, that's the issue you're probably called to destroy. But God said, remove the speck from your own eye. So, first and foremost, you have to address it within yourself. You have to overcome it within yourself. When you overcome it, then you can help other people overcome it. Once you overcome it, you can help other people overcome it. Idolatry is prevalent. It's all on TikTok. It's all on Instagram. It's hidden and it's exposed. It's all over the place. Now, let me tell you, you've heard my story before about my deliverance from idol worship. And I'm going to tell you something that you need to hear. First and foremost, idol worship ran in my family. And when I say idol worship, I'm not talking about making a golden calf and bowing down to it. I'm talking about putting something in your heart that you want more than you want the Most High God. It's esteeming something, being willing to sin for something. Whatever you present your body to is your God. Present your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. It was one of those things in my family that we grew up believing that, hey, you can't be without a man. You got to do this. You got to do that. God know your heart. So if you're going to sleep with a man, go bust it open. But God know your heart. You're not a bad person. It's not like you out here killing folks. It's not like you out here raping folks. It's not like you out here, creating mass slaughters or robbing a bank. It's your body. But God knows your heart. That's idolatry. I grew up in that belief. I grew up thinking that even though sex outside of marriage was wrong, God knew my heart. And I had every intention to get married. I had every intention, but it was me first. You shall have no other gods before me. No, it's me first. Once I get the man, then we'll come to church. Once I get him and I secure him, once I get everything that I want, then we'll go to the Lord. And you know what? It worked. It worked. I've never had a problem securing a guy or getting a proposal. Never in my life. Y'all have heard me joke. I'm probably the most proposal woman on the planet. But I never had that issue. I ended up getting married. And you know what? The thing I discovered, as gangster as I was outside of a marriage, I was a G, meaning I could toss a dude. Like, I didn't get emotionally involved or what have you. I was skilled at guarding my heart, using the wrong methods, but I was skilled at guarding my heart. because my heart was a mess. So it was up, it was, off for construction or what have you. It was secured office construction. I was a G at that. It wasn't until I told you guys I was 17 years old, I actually opened my heart up and let a guy in. I'm not going to go into the entirety of that story, but my mom accepted him. And my mom let this dude come to our house or what have you. I was attracted to him. He had his car. He was a good looking guy. All of this stuff always smelled good. It was so much. That was a person because my mom accepted him. And she didn't even accept my friends. I'm talking about female friends. My mom was like, oh, he can come over when I'm not home. I'm like, I can't even let females in the house when you're not home. But he's so respectful and it's that. I literally stopped guarding my heart. Crazy thing. I had been in a relationship during the 2 years with a guy, and I guarded my heart from him. While I cared about him and I liked him, and I would probably even have argued that I loved the guy, I wasn't no idol worshiper when it came to that dude. We talked for 2 years, and I used to break up with him all the time. Every time he got on my nerves, I was like, you know what, I'm not. And he would laugh at me because he didn't take me seriously. I'm like, I'm not going to do this with you. You want to act crazy? Bye. Don't call me no more. And he said, you don't want me to call you? I'm like, bro, don't call me. Leave me alone. And he called me back the next. He'll call me back later that day. He was like, did your period go off? I was like, what have you? So I end up talking. Um, Ending the relationship with him was not that big of a deal. You would think after during their 2 years, it would be hard. I need you to hear me. I need you to pay attention. You would think after 2 years with him, it would have been difficult. It wasn't. I was able to end that relationship because he kept getting on my nerves. He kept getting on my nerves. No, it was something a little bit deeper. It wasn't just him aggravating me. It was something that he did. I'm not going to go into that. But I ended up getting in a relationship with a dude for 2 months. Tell me why it took me 2 years to get over him. The one that my mom accepted, the one that my mom celebrated, the one that my mom approved, the one that my mom, because now I had confirmation. I had somebody of authority saying, this is a good person you should hold on to. So I was with this dude 2 months. It was highly just talking about future, all of that stuff. It messed, man. I realized then all that time I had been looking at my friends crying, talking about what they feel. I found out what they felt because for 2 years, I didn't know how to. I was like, I used to tell my friends, I can date, but if he come back, I'm getting back with him. I called a psychic hotline, trying to see if we were gonna get back together. I called a whole psychic hotline, and they would tell you, and you couldn't do that. You weren't supposed to do that. I called a 900 number. We had landlines. We didn't have cell phones then. I called a 900 number. I think it was like $2.99 an hour. Then we would get so whenever the line come out, my mom like, who called this number? The phone bill come out or what have you. I figured let me try to get on this phone and just do like 2 minutes. Tell the psychic the story real quick, speed walk through and try to get a speedy answer. I called a psychic hotline. And she was like, oh yeah, you're going to get back together. And let me tell you how I got delivered from the psychic hotline. Just a little navigate. One day we lost, I think it was keys, my mom's keys. And my mom had to be at work. She lost her keys, lost something, but she had to be at work. And she was flipping out. I'm talking about she was in a full-on rage, going through that house and talking about what she's gonna do. She was like, I'm a beat y'all if I can't find these keys. I gotta get out here on time. What have you? And we were freaking out, and we had been going for a long time, couldn't find the keys. I literally called the psychic hotline to find out where the keys were. We get back into it. I called a psychic hotline to find out what my mama keys were. And a lady she said, because I'm thinking that she's gonna say, I see the keys. Go look in the couch, or something like that. No, she said, go back and trace your steps. I hung up in her face. I never called again. I hung up in her face. I realized, like, what? Go trace my steps. I could have got that advice from the woman that's talking about beating my tail. That's what we were doing. We were tracing our steps. Everybody was tracing their steps, and nobody could find the keys. But long story short, that was something that I had grown up with. It was something that I struggled with over the course of my life, was idolatry. I let this dude in, and when he got in, I did not know how to let him go. So after him, I became a G again. After him, I became a G again. I was real good. Like, I talked to a guy, he got on my nerves. Bye. And I realized the reason I was like that was not only because I was traumatized, because I was scared of loving somebody. I was afraid of allowing somebody to get that close. So every time I would talk to a guy as soon as he got on my nerves. As soon as he said something stupid, I was like, you know what? Don't even call me no more. Go on about your business or what have you. And I'm thinking, okay, there's something different about you. And then I ended up getting married outside the will of God. Didn't do it the right way. Ended up getting married, and that's when the idolatry kicked in again. Because now I'm dealing with a legality. Now we're building together. Now we're mixing stuff together. I didn't understand. I didn't understand. The G went out the window. I became a phone. I was a fake G. I was that G that walked around talking noise. But no, it was gone. I was walking, I was in this relationship with this person that I had allowed to become my everything. And I didn't know that. I was a Christian. I was a baby Christian. I was new to the church. I had allowed him to do me a favor. Be sure to like and share, guys. Be sure to, but I had allowed him to become my everything. And I'm walking around, and one of the evidences that you allow somebody to become your everything is that you pretty much start trying to do everything for them. Like you're trying to make sure that there is nothing, no need in their life, nothing. You're trying to make sure that there's no disappointment in their life. And what it does is it sets the stage for high level anger. There's somebody listening that needs to hear this. It sets the stage for high level anger because after you did all that for a person and they still not appreciative, tell me if I'm lying, you be going straight off. Because now you felt like I did more than most women. I've done more than most women. I didn't set up here. We come home from work. I'm making sure the house clean. I'm treating your kids like they mine. When your kid like he's mine, I'm sitting up here. I'll never tell you no. If you wake me up in the middle of the night, I'm gonna make sure you taking care. Listen, you got it going on up in here. You got a whole white. I got a closet full of lingerie. What do you want? I thought I was the perfect woman. I thought there's no way because I figured I knew why men cheated because I was young and ignorant. So in my ignorance, I thought it was because a woman be walking around the house with rollers in her hair. That's how I used to talk when I was younger. You know, how these girls, I don't understand how they be walking around the house when you get married. You need to look good for your man. Oh, I'll give me some 20-year-olds on here that talk like that. Oh, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit you with some wisdom, baby. I thought it was because they were walking around the house in these grandma robes and stuff that they didn't care no more, and they telling a man no and all of that. So I made it a point to not be that type of woman. I made it a point to put on a little bit of extra eyeliner. I made it a point to make sure that I had a closet full of sexies. I made it a point to make sure that I'm cooking all the time, that I'm seductive. I'm learning everything that you need to learn about seduction, buying books on sex. We go to the sex. I made it a point to be everything that Hollywood told me I needed to be. I made it a point. And that's why whenever he did cheat, I literally had a moment. I was in shock. I stared at the wall for hours. I stared at the wall for hours. I'm Mary. I love you. I love you. Thank you. I stared at the wall for hours. I was sitting there just looking at the wall because in my brain was frozen. And I'm just running through my brain trying to figure out where did I drop the ball? Where did I drop the ball? There it had to be something that I missed. Did I tell him no one night when he woke up in the middle of the night? I don't know. I ain't never told him no. Never, ever, ever. Did I did I not cook his favorite dish? Because that's what Hollywood taught me. That's what Hollywood taught me. I want to tell you something about idolatry, and I need you to be ready to hear this. It sets you up. You will never have a healthy relationship in an idolatrous situation. Call me a liar. I need somebody that's an idol worshiper to tell me, Tiffany, that's not true. I worship my husband and we have a healthy marriage because I'm going to call you what you is, what you are. I'm going to call you a bona fide liar to your face. You will never find a healthy, godly relationship in idolatry, ever. I didn't counsel too many people. You will never find a healthy relationship in idolatry. You will always find a dynamic of the worshiper and the worshiped. You will always find a dynamic. There's a lot of sensuality in the beginning of those relationships, and then it becomes about you serving that person. Not realizing that you're serving, but you're serving that person. You know why? You're serving them because you believe that it's going to get better. Tell me if I'm wrong. At some point, see, it's just that because we didn't have the money that we need, or we don't have this that we need. But at some point, you're working towards something getting better. But let me give you a little bit of insight. You're building the Tower of Babel. They built that thing for 100 years, and then God confused their language. You will never finish the tower. I'm going to say it again. You will never finish the tower. God will let you build a relationship for 65 years. And then turn around and you be like, God, I'm calling up on you. And we've been together. And I'm not in it. Because that is your God. That is your God. And the only way I can take my space back is if you submit yourself to me wholeheartedly, not partially. You submit yourself to me wholeheartedly. And if you do that, you're going to 9 times out of 10 get dumped. Take an idol off the throne and watch what happens. I'm anointed to deal with this. Take an idol off the throne and watch what happens. If your idol happy, it's because you're sacrificing something. If your idol happy, it's because you're surrendering something. But they're never satisfied enough, because no matter how much you sacrifice, you're going to have to come back with more and more and more. Hell never says this is enough. Fire never says this is enough. Lust never says this is enough. I don't care how many times you come up in the room, you can wear 622 wigs a year. Come into the room and call yourself all these different names. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when you're dealing with an idolatrous man or a lustful man, please, it's not enough. You still gonna find out he cheating, because you're not the problem. You're not the problem. The problem is his relationship with God. And one thing that happens with idol worshipers is you find yourself keep trying to set up marital counseling sessions. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there. I don't care. I don't care. You're up in marriage counseling. Marriage counseling cannot fix adultery. I gotta learn how to professionally do makeup. I want to learn how to do black eye so I can come on here when I'm teaching. I can do a black eye. Marriage counseling, what it does is it teaches you how to behave on top of the mess that's underneath. It teaches you how to behave. So you bring him up in there. Yeah, so now he don't clean up the house. He don't clean up behind himself. And I'm talking about, like, when he go into the room, he take off his drawers and he got dookie streaks in his drawers. And I asked him, I said, bro, could you go into there and at least wash that stuff out? Because we found chunks in the washing machine and stuff. I asked him, could you at least wash that stuff out before you? And he leaving his stuff and all of that. And what the marriage counselor would say, hey, you need to wash your underwear. But you're building on top of a grim foundation. You're building on top of something that's demonic. You're building on top of something that's not set to stand. Because anything that's not built upon the foundation of the word of God will not and cannot stand. So when you go and I'm preaching because I know there are some singles out there. Married folk, it could be a little too late. Some of them. But for the singles, you better hear me. You better seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and everything else will be added to you. Because if you don't, and you go out here and get somebody that you gotta you sex yourself into a relationship with, he's going to become your God, and he will never, ever, ever allow you to have any other God. The minute you try to put God first, your relationship gonna go in danger. Get into your purpose and watch how that demon manifests. And to the guys as well. Get into your purpose. Get up there and start saying, the Lord called me to write these books. The Lord called me to do this. Look, that child gonna take you through hell in that house. They will take you. You know how many counseling sessions I've done with people? That person will take. I am saying this as a fact and a truth. I'm saying this as absolute. That person will take you through hell in the house. You will go through hell and high water in that house with that person. Every time you sit back there, now you can do low level purpose stuff. You can write a little bit of an article. You can create a blog post or what have you. Get into something big. Get into something that will build your confidence in Christ. Get into something that will grow your faith. Get into that. That's when the enemy will come out and begin to slaughter your self-esteem, begin to punish you. And this, I've said this before, he will then turn around and hold that person over your head. He will hold that person over your head. If you want to hold on to him, you better stop what you're doing. If you want to hold on to him, I'm just not feeling connected to you these days. I just feel like you got your head in other places. I feel like this and I feel like that. You're going to have to keep giving in a sacrifice, even your own kid. There are men out there and women out there, they will have a whole kid with you and they get mad at you for having the nerves to try to be a good mother or a good parent. Me sitting, and I've talked about this before, holding the baby and the person is getting jealous because in that time where you're holding the baby, you over here, he feels jealous because that's his point of developmental delay. This is where he got traumatized. Get jealous of his whole child because he's no longer number one in your life. Rather than joining you in parenting that child and understanding that being a parent is the most selfless act that you could do outside of salvation, that person becomes very competitive and contentious. That's why he cheated while you was pregnant. That's why he cheated when you had that baby. Because he wanted somebody that was going to put him first. And he didn't like because he had already taken God's place. He was already number one in your life. And when you're a mother automatically takes her child and puts her child in his space. And now he's like, I don't like that. Ever since you had the baby, I feel like this. I feel like that. You will have to work. I need some idol worshipers, some former idol worshipers to support me on this. You will have to work to hold on to that relationship. You're going to have to work. I'm sorry. You're going to have to clean up. You're going to have to do a lot of extra stuff. You're going to be sitting up there and it's never satisfied. And they're not going to do for you what they require of you. And anytime you get into any relationships that are beneficial, any good godly covenant, you're going to be required to sacrifice them. High key or low key? High key meaning you do it outrightly. Low key meaning you do it underhandedly. Meaning you do stuff to get people to cut you off so that you can say, I didn't cut them off. You do things to get people to offend you so you can justify walking away. You can justify because you don't want to be called out. You don't want somebody to point out, hey, I'm going to come for this thing. I'm going to come forward. I'm going to come forward because I used to be an idol worshiper. Going back to that story, just so that I can bless you with that. Ended up in an abusive marriage. Didn't know how to get out of it. Didn't know how. And I experienced what idolatry feels like. I know it ain't easy. I'm not gonna come on here and act like everybody should be a G. Trust me, I know it ain't easy. I know what it's like to make somebody your everything. I know what it's like to have to center your whole world around another human being. I know what it's like to think that you can't survive or not live without that person. I know what it's like. That's the reason why I can look and I can understand, why it was so hard on my family to get past. I understand what it's like because by default, if you don't make Yahweh your number one, you will have an idol. It's automatic. There is no other way. There are no alternatives. There is no medium spot. There is no neutral place. If God is not your number one, you will have an idol automatically, even if the idol is yourself. Even if you idolize your feelings, you idolize your emotions, if you idolize your preference, you will have an idol. Why do you think we have all these people out here? They're doing what they want to do. They're out here living contrary to the word, and they're so angry with Christians because they want to do what they want to do. They want to have their idols, and they know, and they're mad at God because God won't let them have them. Most people who are angry with God, the majority of people who are angry with God, they're mad at him because he won't serve them. They're mad, they're angry with him because he won't serve them. Because they have their flesh. The flesh has to be crucified because the flesh will try to tame God, but they have not crucified their flesh. So the flesh and its lust, the flesh, one of the fruits of the flesh is idolatry, or the works of the flesh is idolatry. If whatever you feed will grow, whatever you starve will die. They will keep feeding that flesh until idolatry and witchcraft is prevalent. It begins to dominate them, and it begins to dominate their thoughts to the point where they can become consumed with what they want. I want to be in a relationship, and I want to be in a relationship right now. God said, "You're a baby. Go sit down and go back to bed. It ain't your time yet. I need you to seek ye first the kingdom of God. I don't care." It begins to dominate. And God said, when He blesses you, He'll add no sorrow to it. But you know what? The enemy can give you his version of a blessing. Satan will give you what you want in a microwave. He'll give you what you want quick, fast, and in a hurry. But there's sorrow attached to it. There are conditions. There are conditions. You can have him or you can have her as long as you don't fully surrender to God. You can stay here. You won't be happy. Come on, y'all. Where the fuck? Tell me where? Because I know some of y'all that are idol worshipers. You won't admit to being an idol worshiper. So can I talk to those of you who are former idol worshipers? Tell me, were you happy when you struggle with idolatry? If you're still in it, tell me, are you happy? No. Tell me, show me somebody that is in an idolatrous relationship that is happy. Show me somebody. Because if I can find somebody who's genuinely happy, I may change my theology. Be straight up miserable dealing with y'all in a relationship like that. There's something you deal with called agony. You know, have you ever experienced agony? Agony is high level anxiety. It's when your stomach get involved. It's when it becomes so overwhelming. It becomes so overwhelming that the only thing you could do is curl up in the bed and cry and go to sleep. Curl up in a fetal position. And when you're in agony, tell me if I'm lying, you start dealing with suicide ideation. Fantasizing about the person that you idolize coming to your funeral and looking at you and crying and saying, "Baby, I'm sorry. I didn't know, baby. I didn't know." You know why you fantasize about that? Because you think that, well, if I have an opportunity where I can't return to him, because if I'm dead, that's the only way. If I'm dead, that's the only way I can. If I have if there's a situation, if there's something that happens where I cannot return to this relationship, and the fantasy, for whatever reason, makes you feel like you will be there at the funeral to enjoy that moment. He actually did love you. Look at him. He's over there and they're holding him back. You ever seen Imitation of Life? The girl sits back and she's white passing. It's from the back in the days. Her mother is a servant, working for a white family. And this is during the time racism is high, and the girl, I'm assuming she had a white father, so she was white passing, so nobody could look at her and tell that she was black, that her mother was black. So she started disowning her mother. Yeah, that movie made, I don't care how hardcore you are, you will cry. If you watch that movie and not cry, it's something wrong. It's something wrong. But at the end, her mother passes away, and it's the most sad scene ever. And she runs up there and she tries to get into that truck and she's crying. She's trying to get up in there. She's ripping and she's screaming and crying. That is how we fantasize about when it comes to a person that we idolize, not understanding you're looking for love in a person who does not love God. You're looking for love. I need you to hear it. I need you to hear it. You're looking for love in a person who does not have it to give to you. It's like I used to go to my dad and be begging him for money that he didn't have, throwing tantrums about money he didn't have. A person can't give you what they don't possess. Remember, I told you in the beginning, whatever you give to God, He increases. So whenever you give God that little bit of when you're born, there's this little bit, you created an image of God. You got this little bit of love. You got this little bit of love. And if you give it to God and you give it to Him first, if you seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, you give it to God, God increases that love. Not only does He increase it on the outside, but on the inside, your ability to love Him begins to increase. If you have struggled in your love with God, it's because you have not given Him your love first. You gave it to somebody else, you gave it to yourself. This is what we call selfishness. This is what we call selfishness. You gave it away. And God is saying, hey, study your word, pray, seek me, Build a relationship. In the beginning, it's going to be relatively odd. You're not going to feel like talking to me. You're not going to feel like spending time with me. Just keep doing it. Just make it a point to be consistent at that. Over the course of time, you will taste and see that I'm good. And as you taste and see that I'm good, you're going to have more than a soul tie with me. You have a spiritual tie with me. And through that tie, you will come to love me with all of your heart, mind, and your strength. And then you will come to love your neighbor first and foremost as you love yourself, which means that you're going to love yourself first. Now you have the ability to love others. And check this, when you have the ability to love others, you're able to recognize when you're not loved. That means that Satan can't find no place in your life in the form of a narcissist. Satan can't find no space in your life. The Bible says, don't give place to the devil. When you let God fill you up, you become content. When you don't make God number one, you become contentious. You become so content that most people question whether or not you're bitter, whether or not you're hurt, because they see you sitting there talking to a guy 2, 3 days later. They're like, whatever happened to that dude? I tossed him. What are you talking about? You tossed him. You seem like a nice guy. Because in that, you come to learn, I love me. And this dude doesn't have the capacity to love me because he don't love himself. And when you wait it out, you're going to feel like an idiot because everybody around you is getting married and having babies, but they having babies by people that don't love them because they never learned how to love themselves. Their children serve as soul ties between them. You're going to watch people around you having babies and all of that. But see, the last will be first and the first shall be last. It's those of you who wait on the Lord and he will renew your strength. It's those of you who wait on the Lord whenever you sit back and your sisters and your brothers and everybody else getting married and they having babies and what have you. God will catch you at 39 years old, 40 years old. It doesn't matter. But whenever he blesses you, he adds no sorrow to it. You'll end up married to somebody who loves God first. That person will love God and this person can lead you. Then you can safely submit. Yeah, you can safely submit. You can sit there and say, I'm not even worried about anything because when he walk out that door, I ain't scared. I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night. Listen, I ain't got to lay him out. I've been married before. I ain't got to lay him out so I can check his phone. Tell me I don't know about that. I'm put him to sleep like a 6-year. Not like a 6-year, like a newborn. I'm going to put him to sleep. Rockabye baby. And why he's coming, y'all be trying to act like I'm the only one. No, I ain't the only one. No, I used to put the dude to sleep. And you know how you put a dude to sleep? Sex. And then go through his phone. Why he up there laid out, butt naked, bucky naked. Sister Amaria, God bless you, sis. Thank you. Bucky naked, you going through his phone, trying to put his password in. Y'all know I know the brothers. I know y'all passwords. Your children's birthday and the last 4 of your social security number. Almost always. Gonna be one of your kids' birthdays. Or your birthday and the last 4 of your social. Guys are typically predictable. You sit up over there. His child's birthday was what? April 2nd, 2004. So I'm gonna put in 4204. Put it in there. You in there? Y'all ain't smiling at me. Ladies, okay. You shouldn't want to marry somebody that you got to check his password anyhow. Now you up in there. While he in the bedroom laid out butt naked, stretched out across the bed, and you up in the bathroom. Listening to his voicemail, checking his text messages. Now you hurt. Right, ding. Now you hurt. Looking at his text messages. Lady sent heart eyes. What the heck is the heart eyes for? And then you go back through the text. Oh, okay. Why he got a name saying up in here talking about some Jerome? Why Jerome sending him heart eyes and stuff? Calling the voicemail, listening to voicemails in the middle of the night. Now you up in the room waking him up. Wake up! Hit that thigh. What's wrong with you? What happened? What happened? So we got three problems in your phone. Who is Jerome? Who is Tina? And who is Miss Cassidy? Because all of them seem to be sending you some really strange things, especially Jerome. Why is there a picture of a butt? I thought it was cleavage. I had to look at it again. I had to enlarge it and realize it wasn't cleavage because it had no nipples. A whole butt on the screen. What is that? What is this about? That's one of my coworkers. He was just being funny. Don't know grown man. Now you got to deal with agony, not just anxiety, but agony. And agony after you experience it. When you're in a relationship where you idolize a person, when you experience it, I'm gonna show you how this works. Y'all want insight? Y'all want to go inside of this because some of you are single, and I promise you, my objective is to keep you from not getting into the situation. Let me tell you how it works. I'm gonna show you how much. And for those of you who have been in these type of relationships, you're gonna be able to relate. Let me show you how this works. When you can I draw it out for you? Because I love you. This is the call. All right. You're on a journey, no matter who you're in a relationship with or whether you're in a relationship or not, you're on a journey. So typically, whenever you idolize a person, catch this, you're going to find yourself in a relationship with a narcissist. If you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it's because you deal with idolatry. We can go there. There's no way around it because a narcissist will never be with you unless they can be your God. They won't be in a relationship with you unless they can be your number one. I don't care if you call them. I believe in God. No, you got God in the back seat. And if you look behind you, he ain't in the car with you. A narcissist will never be in a relationship with you unless they are your number one. Okay. Now let me show you how this. Let me show you how this looks. Let me show you how this works. I'm going to talk about this little thing called agony. Agony will help. So this is what a narcissist does. A toxic relationship, a narcissistic relationship. This is how it looks like. This is how you're tamed. You're tamed. So, moment. It's a bipolar relationship, by the way. So you have moments of high intensity. Just starting off, we're going on a spectrum. We're going on a journey. This is the start of our journey. High intensity. Those relationships typically start off in sensuality. And if you're adapted to sensuality, you really need to consecrate. You need to train your palate, or you need to reset your palate. Because if you're trained in idolatry, if you're trained in sensuality, which a lot of us were, then you don't know love. You know how to get in relationships and kiss on each other and hold each other's hand and have butterflies and all of that stuff, racing heart, sweaty palms. That's what you're accustomed to. And you determine that to be love. And you don't know how to have a relationship outside of that. That is toxic. That is toxic. Okay. So relationship starts off. This is what strengthens the relationship. It's high intensity. Typically, it's centered around sensuality. God is not in this. Forgive me. The word sensuality is written real funny, but I promise I spelled it right. But high intensity sensuality. Now, let me show you how relationships like this work. Now, I've told you before, they typically in the beginning, they go up like this. They're always illegal. I want you to see this word as I'm doing. They're always illegal. So relationships like this, first and foremost, they go up, meaning you have to go on up. Narcissists do not like stability. They don't like it. They like adrenaline. They have to have their emotions tantalized. They don't like, because right then and there, that's how you can access a person's heart. Not only access a person's heart, but to go closer and you can develop an even stronger soul tie. Idolatry is a soul tie. It's a form of a soul tie, just like unforgiveness is a soul tie. There are different types of soul ties. There are different types of soul ties. All right, let me close that out. So there are different types of soul ties. So This is how these relationships work. Now, even though, like I said, they're on a spectrum, this is how these relationships work. You got high intensity, then typically there's a low dip. There's a low dip. Right then and there, you're being trained, you're being tamed, you're being this person is they're taking you through a process of preparing you for what's about to happen. There's a low dip. That's typically where there's an X in the picture. There's something happening that's going to put a strain on your relationship. And right there is where you will give your first offering. That right there, you will give your first offering. It may be your body. Even if you sit there and say, I'm abstinent, I don't believe in sex outside of marriage, and you trying to do the right thing, but then right then now, dude is not texting you anymore. He's not calling you, or he didn't text you last night. He didn't do this. That person right then and there. Because let me show you a little thing that what narcissists do. Relationships. Now we're talking about this as a journey. The journey is designed to move forward. We'll just do it with hand. Move forward. Okay. The journey is designed to move forward. But what a narcissist will do is they'll take you forward. There's a yo-yo effect, and then they'll go backwards. So when they start going backwards, you've already started acclimating yourself to them. You start acclimating. You've already come to believe, or they have love bombed you into believing that they're gonna be with you. This is the person that you're supposed to be with. Y'all gonna have babies together. All of this stuff. They have love bombed you into that. Okay, but they will, like, they're gonna play with your mind. They will go forward with you, and then all of a sudden they'll start pulling back. They'll go forward and then they'll pull back. There's this yo-yo effect because the enemy understands how the soul works. So now you got the low dip. You got the low dip. This person is starting to rethink the relationship. He's not calling as much. Something is happening. And now you feel the need to take it up a notch. And I tell people, you got to hear me when I say this. Idolatry is instinctual, meaning nobody has to tell you how to do it. It's a part of your fallen nature. It's instinctual. That means that whenever he responds that way, you are automatically know instinctively what to do. You know instinctively. Sister Laura, you're awesome. Thank you, sis. God bless you. You know instinctively what to do. So then what they do is they take you back up and rescue you again. They rescue you again. So old boy was pulling back. You know, he wasn't answering his calls. It was this, that, and all of a sudden now you're getting scared. You're dealing with, fear or what have you. You're feeling abandonment issues, but then all of a sudden, maybe you sit back and say, hey, can you come stay tonight or something like that. But then now they take you up again. They take you up because you just gave an offering. See, God said, present your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. You didn't do that. You gave it to him. You gave it to the dude or you gave it to the woman. So now they take you up. Your soul can't handle this. It's like an airplane can't keep going up and down real fast. It has to ascend. But no, they just take you through these different dips. They take you through these dips. So now they take you up. Everything is beautiful. They want to take you to Hawaii. They're making love to you like you ain't never been made love to before. You up in the bed thinking you got antennas or something. You all up in there excited, talking about, oh, I gotta be with you. They open up to you. They tell you something that you feel like they ain't never told nobody in their life. And it makes you feel like that they really want to be with you because now they're telling you stuff. He may tell you, I had an encounter with a man before. What you mean you had an encounter with a man? I need a cucumber test. No, I mean, I ain't gonna lie. We had, so they open up to you. You know, when somebody opens up to you, it makes you open up to them. Okay. That's what they're doing. The goal is to get you to open your heart. I'm trying to show you the science of this. I'm trying to show you how this works. When that person opens up to you, you feel like I can trust him because he opened up. He told me something so he real serious. He's serious about me. I don't know about them other exes, but this dude, he even cried. So now you up here. Relationship starts going here. Now, what he's going to teach you, and I'm just saying it could be a woman as well to my brothers. It's just easier for me to use he or something like that rather than to be dabbling between that. So you get here. Narcissists or toxic relationships do not like these straight lines because they represent stability. They represent stability. So they don't like this. it means the relationship is drab. Every time you get to that space with a narcissist, they will train you to feel like your relationship is coming to an end. I need somebody to teach me, somebody to tell me that because I know I ain't crazy. They will make you feel because you're not as engaging that your relationship with them is not that stable. So now, every time you have these moments, relationships are built on stability. When you're married, there's stability. That means there are moments in marriage. There are no highs. There are no lows. You just coming home from work. He come home from work. You come home from work. That's it. You're not you're not dealing with a high level sensuality. Your emotions are not all over the place. He come home, he do his thing. You like, what you finna do? He's I'm finna go down there. I'm gonna go downstairs and play the game. You're like, okay, cool. God's girl, awesome. Thank you. God bless you, sis. I'm gonna go down there and play the game. You're like, okay, cool. Y'all ain't fighting about nothing. Ain't no distrust. There's nothing in there. Narcissists do not like that. They'll let you have those moments because you need them, and they need you to have those moments. So, but they're gonna ruin those moments. Anytime you go into a stable place, the relationship is bipolar. Anytime you go into this straight line with a narcissist or a toxic person, what they're going to do is they're going to take you on another dip. You're going on another dip because you're being tamed. You're being trained. You're being tamed. You're being trained. Sister Katisha, God bless you. Thank you so much, sis. God bless you, sis. But you're being tamed. You've been taken on this dip. Now that's emotionally, that's draining. That's draining. It is triggering. It's triggering. You go straight into this dip. Now, when you go into this dip, you're freaking out because 9 times out of 10, a lot of times this is on the heels of you two making a decision to do something major. I love telling on the devil. Y'all, I know he wish he had killed me when I wasn't saved, but it's too late. The Most High got me now. I'm going to tell on the devil. No, what he's going to do, or she, what that person's going to do as soon as you get right here in this dip, they're going to take you through the dip. Now, typically, notice the first dip wasn't as big as this dip. The first dip was to tame you. Now, this is a deeper dip. They're going to take you on this dip, and notice the first dip wasn't as long. The second dip, the first dip, it took him 3 days. Now it's been 6 days, 7 days. He still hasn't forgiven you. He's still acting out. He's still treating you bad. He's still mishandling you. You're being taught. You're being trained like a zoo animal. You're being taught how to not upset him. You're being taught to be an understudy, to be his servant, or to serve that demon, to serve that spirit in him. You're being taught. Okay? You're on this dip. Now, let's just say this dip here represents 1 week. You're tamed for a week. You're tamed for a week. Now, they can't bring you out the dip and take you into stability. They can take you into a stable low. And a stable low means you're in a low place. They're not threatening to leave anymore, but things are strained in your household. So you can get on a stable low. And when you're on a stable low, you're still on punishment. You can get on a stable low, meaning there is nothing happening in that relationship new, but you still don't feel secure. You know what they do that for? Let me tell you a little spiritual principle. Because right then and there, that demon is saying, I need another offering. You're going to have to give something up to prove yourself, because the demon triggers that person's insecurity. So now you have to prove yourself to that person that you're not going to leave. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. Deep down inside, they know you ain't going nowhere, but they use that because they want to see how much power they have over you. So now you go a whole week. Now you're on a stable low for like another week. So that week you got 2 weeks. Now the first time when you were head down, this person was taking you through agony for a whole week. But now you're on a stable low. That means he's speaking. Y'all probably having sex, but he's still not treating you. Now you miss this space here. You miss up here. You want this so bad. So now you're walking around the house trying to do whatever you can, whatever you think you can do to prove yourself or what have you. And then you will give the sacrifice. Whether that's cutting off a friend, stop going to a church, you will give the sacrifice in an attempt to prove yourself. And I'm going to tell you how you know it, because then you're going to start talking about the person. You're going to start talking about your pastor. You're going to start talking about your friends. You're going to start talking about the people to him. You're going to tell him something negative. You're in the process of giving a sacrifice. You're testing to see Is this a good enough sacrifice? Is this an acceptable enough sacrifices? Because not all sacrifices are accepted. Not all sacrifices are accepted. So they let you know if it's an acceptable sacrifice. If you say, I don't know if I'm going to that church, I just feel like they this, they that. And he say, yeah, that's what I was thinking. But I ain't want to say nothing to you. Now he talking back to you. Oh, he wasn't talking that much. Y'all wasn't engaging in too much conversation. He was treating you like a $2 hoe around your house. Even though you in a relationship or you married to him, he walking around the house, and only time he want to deal with you is during sex. When a person does that to you, it is demeaning. I have talked so many women. When a person does you, when they take you on a low and they start having sex with you on a low, and that means that they're treating you like crap, and they start treating you like a $2 hoe, meaning they don't want to have no conversation with you, no intimacy with you, don't want to go out with you, don't want to hold hands with you, don't want to laugh with you. They make the environment toxic, but then they'll sleep with you. You're being tamed. You're being tamed. You're taken to a low space because you're in prison. You're being broken so that you can go deeper in your idolatry. You're being broken. That's why in a situation like that, a man will say something that's demeaning, like, give me a blowjob. Negro, what? I'm trying I'm trying to have sex with you. Go down. Because it's designed to break your mind. So now, after this, typically the narcissist will take you off punishment when they have good news or something happens. They will take you off punishment. They'll take you from here. Remember, think of it as an airplane. You cannot go from a high place to a low place quickly. You have to ascend or descend. You can't, because that could potentially kill you. You can cause, I think, some type of pressure, some type of issue with your blood. It can. I think it's called the bends. You do that in water, and I'm pretty sure you can do that in the air. It's called the bends, where your body is not. It can't function like that. Okay, so now you've been on this stable low for a week where you're being taught. You're being taught, but then all of a sudden, he takes you to a high place again. You back at a high place. Then you're back at a high place where he buying your flowers, he taking you out, he making love to you, y'all end up going on a trip together. All this beautiful stuff. Your sacrifice was accepted. You're taken to a high place. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's cotton candy and butterflies and all of that stuff. It's just it's so good. And you start feeling like there's hope for my relationship. I've been praying, and God is turning things around. I've been praying. God is turning things. You get really excited. And when you're in a high place, the guy even says something, or the girl says something that makes you feel like, oh, God is working. They say, I was talking to the man upstairs. Ooh, did he say the man upstairs? Oh, he been praying. Ooh. Even Jesus said, ooh, you get hope. You get hope. You get happy. You get excited. You're on this high. You're back on this high. Now, no highs can last. Not even a narcissist can keep you on a high, because guess what? In this type of thing, you're required to maintain the high. I love the truth. You're required. They'll take you here, but you have to take it from there. You got to keep things high. That means you got to keep on coming up with an offering. You better buy some lingerie. You better come up. Listen, you better figure out a way to keep things high. Welcome, Sister Autumn. God bless you, sis. But you better find out a way to keep things high. You are required to keep things high. But you know what? Like any human being, that's too much. We go right back here. Stability. Stability to a normal person is instability to a narcissist. If you don't know, narcissist is the Jezebel spirit. Stability feels like instability to them. They don't like this because stability, there's no highs. That means that you're going to get a chance to see. They don't like that. They like being gods. It's a demon. There's a spirit in operation in them. They don't like this. They don't like stability. They don't like it. So here they give you space to repent. They give you an opportunity to turn things around. You better do something instead of coming home and cooking and feeding the kids and sending them off to bed and giving me some. Remember, I said that idolatry is instinctual. You find yourself at the sex store. You'll find yourself doing everything. You're gonna change your appearance. You're gonna do everything trying in an attempt to win their favor again. You know what? I'm going blind. I'm gonna lose a lot of weight. You ain't doing it for you. But that stability gonna kick in again. And over the course of time, you're gonna get tamed to realize that we're not in a good space because we're stable. We're not in a good space. They'll allow you to have this moment here of stability. That's your space of rest for them. But you better go ahead and take them high, because if you don't take them high, notice we went lower this time. Notice we went lower this time. Now they're going to start a fight about the stupidest stuff. They will take something minor, something not that big of a deal, and they'll turn it into something major. They'll turn it into something major. You forgot to turn the stove off last night. You were tired. They've been wearing you out. Because one of the things that narcissists do is they like to keep you from going to sleep. They will try to give you enough work to keep you, they'll try to give you enough work to keep you up. Then when you get to bed, they will wait for you to go to sleep. They know you got to be up at 5 in the morning. They'll wake you up at 3 in the morning trying to have sex with you. It's not that they want to have sex, because sleep deprivation gives them a measure of control over you. Sleep deprivation gives them a measure of control over you. So now they take you here. Now notice the last time they did that, it was 1 week. Now you're on punishment. He ain't coming home at night. Whenever he does come home, he's really cold. He's very distant, because narcissists like to get with prophets and prophetic people because you are highly sensitive. And when that sensitivity, you are sensitive to atmospheres. And so when people shift your atmosphere, your peace goes all the way out the window, and it can become agonizing, especially when that peace is not picked up. Sometimes you can deal with a few days of not speaking, a few days of not getting along. But no, they're going to take you down. They're going to take you down. Now, 2.5 weeks. You ain't never been this low with him before. It ain't never been this bad before. But it's because you left the stove on one night, because he kept, it was sleep deprivation. He kept robbing you of your sleep. And now you're talking about something, you could have killed us. You could have killed the kids. You could have did this. You could have did that. It's a lie from the pits of hell. He's putting you on punishment. Or maybe he put you on punishment because, maybe you on Facebook. One of your exes sent you a friend request. Who is this? Ain't that dude? Yeah, I don't know why. Now you're on punishment. Dude, I have no control over who sends me a friend request. No, I think you've been talking. Go to my inbox. I got to go to your inbox. I'm pretty sure you've been texting your phone. No, now you're on punishment. They know you didn't do nothing wrong, but it's a taming process. You're 2.5 weeks. He starts saying, I don't know if I can do this anymore. I almost cheated on you. I ain't never thought about you. And if I think about cheating, that's how I know a relationship is over with. I ain't never thought about cheating on a woman before. I almost cheated on you. I came home. I sat in the car. I didn't want to get out the car. Dude, you causing a problem. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. You're here. Now, check this out. You can't focus. That's the goal of it. You're mentally exhausted. You're physically exhausted. They will drain the life out of you. They're waking you up in the middle of the night, and just when you sleep with them, you think that that means that the fight is over with. They take you right back the next day. I thought you like I ain't never said nothing was over with. So you go right here, 2.5 weeks. Now you're at work breaking down. You're at work sad. You're at work deprived of your you know what? When you're deprived of a thing, you keep saying, I can't wait for things to get back to normal. There never has been a normal. You just had stable moments. You just had stable moments. You keep thinking. So now you're trying to find some type of way to fix it in this space. You're going to keep giving the sacrifice. What I got to give up? You don't want the kids? Okay. Uh, you got to go live with your daddy. If you got kids by another person, you got to go live with your daddy. You are constantly giving sacrifices because you're trying everything that you could think of to win that person back. Because you, right then and there, you idolized your feelings. You're trying to get back to a space where you're not dealing with agony. You're trying to get back to a space where you're not dealing with agony. 2.5 weeks. He talks about breaking up. You're not coming home on time. When you go to work, you're dealing with agony. You can't focus. If you go to school, you're making your grades start to dip. Everything starts to go down. You call him, he's sending you the voicemail. He starts trying to acclimate you to the new normal. And you're so determined, like, and you constantly keep having conversation. Can we talk? Can we talk? You're like, talk about what? I ain't got no problem. Guess you are, you're not speaking. You're acting like you're treating me like this. That's what I'm talking about. 2.5 weeks. You're on this punishment. Then one day you get onto a stable law. He did go to the grocery store. He had a conversation with you again. You back on a stable law, but you're still agonizing. I want things to go back to the way they used to be. I do. I just want to go back to the place they were used to be. You go down here for about a week, and then he gives you a spike. Spike gives you hope. Whoop, 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 whoop. He bought me flowers. Then we right back down here. Slowly but surely, you're gonna see this looks like almost a heartbeat. One day he take you back up again, but not as up as you used to be. Then you go stable, then back down. That's how your relationship is gonna look with a narcissist. That's what idolatry does. You keep going through those highs and lows. And what they do is whenever you have high moments, it's bipolar. Whenever you have high moments, sometimes they can be extreme because that person will give you the most beautiful, take you out to eat to your favorite restaurant, buy you something to wear, go put that on. Run your bath water, bathe you, and treat you like a king or a queen. Will take their time in the bedroom, all that. They will take you, and then the next thing you know, you're right back in that dip. Your relationship is unstable as your emotions because the enemy tames your emotions through those highs and lows. The enemy tames your emotions through those highs and those lows. Over the course of time, it wears you down. Instinctively, you start learning. Let me stay out of his way. Let me give him what he wants. Now, what if I told you this? And I'm not going to say this is an actual, but how about going through that hell on earth and then going before God and he said, I never knew you because you never made me number one. You never made me your number one. So I never knew you. I never had an intimate relationship with you. You never truly wholeheartedly came to me. And you go before him, you're like, God, didn't I prophesy your name? I was going to church. I served at church. I did all of this. Imagine going through all of that hell. And the only hope you have on earth is at least when I die, I got heaven to look forward to. Only to stand before God and he tell you, I'm going to give you an eternity with the greatest narcissist that ever lived, Satan himself. because on earth you didn't choose me. I don't care what your mama did. I know that your mama did that, but that don't mean that you had to continue in that curse. Sister Allison, thank you, sis. God bless you. You didn't have to continue in that curse. I told you what to do. I told you, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his right and his righteousness, and everything else will be added to you. I told you to present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. I told you not to be unequally yoked with unbelievers. I told you all, I gave you instructions. I told you that wherever there was temptation, I would give you a way of escape. You didn't take the way of escape. I told you when you found yourself in a relationship with the narcissist, I told you to win with your behavior, but you wouldn't. You kept going low with him because you needed to hold on to him. I told you that if the unbeliever wanted to depart, let him depart, but you chased him and begged him and cried. Oh, I don't know how to live without you. Oh, no, I'll live without you. Oh, come on. Holding on to somebody who's not holding on to God. Not even realize you got your hands, your feet, your cleat, your heart, and everything about you, your mind wrapped around a demon. Holding on to a demon, telling that demon not to leave you. We're talking about come up and out, manifest and go in the name of Jesus. You want the demon to leave like that, but you are wrapping your soul around a demon and begging it not to leave. And when you come before God, God looks and he says, I want to show you all you did. Because all you had to do was, it was going to hurt. I'm delivered from it, guys. It hurts. It's going to hurt. Because when you take away a narcissist position in your life by submitting yourself to God and resisting the devil, the Bible says the devil gonna flee. You knew that that man was gonna leave you. You knew if I do all this for God, I'm gonna be single. So you ran back and forward because you were trained by the narcissist. You were running between two deities, polytheistic Baal worship, running between two deities. Over here trying to make sure that your God over here is happy, and then trying to come back to this guy, and you wonder why you can't really get caught up in your worship. You wonder why it seems to be so hard. Sister Sandra, awesome. Thank you. God bless you, sis. You wonder why it's so hard. I don't feel God's presence because you're not present with him. God, I worship you. You in worship service, everybody going in. Why can't I go in? Because you can't serve two gods. I want to deliver the singles from this mentality or this belief that if I get with him and I secure him with marriage and a child, then I can go and give my life to God. No, I have yet to see that happen. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Sorry. Because the minute you sit up there and you begin to worship the Most High God, like I'm talking about really going in for God, then that person is going to start pulling away from you. The closer you get to God, the further away you're going to get away from your idol because no idol wants to be dethroned. You know, Baal worship, the center of it is centered around, you can have other gods, but Baal is considered the supreme God. People still worshiping Baal today. And I never understood the concept, even though I was a Baal worshiper, even though I was an idol worshiper, I never understood the concept of why would you choose somebody temporary and exchange that for your eternity? I don't get it. Maybe it's because we believe that if I say the name of Jesus and I pass out at church, that means I'm saved. If I open my mouth and I hear something that sounds like tongues coming out, that means I'm saved. Maybe if I pray to God and I shed some tears while I'm praying, he'll consider what I'm saying. He'll reconsider and he'll make an exemption for me so I can get to heaven. Because I'm not a bad person. I'm just somebody who loved the wrong person. That's all. I'm just somebody who fell in love with the wrong person. Why'd you fall in love with the wrong person? To fall in love really means to fall under a spell. You fell under the spell of somebody because God was not first in your life. See, the way that idolatry works is that you put you and your preference, your opinion, and your desires first. And then when you get with somebody, that person then starts requiring to be first. And so now you go from being your own idol to giving that spot up to them. You go from being your own idol because that person won't allow you to be your own idol. They call you selfish. So then now you got to worship them. You got to give them your body. You mixing money with somebody that you're not married to. I know I just hit somebody in the eyelash. I hope it's not like these. These are magnetics. You spend your life on this roller coaster. You spend your life in this high and this low to pass that crap to your kids. And you know what I've seen in these relationships? I don't know who needs to hear this. You know what I've seen in these relationships? It always ends the same. The kids grow up and despise the person who was not the narcissist. They despise the narcissist, but they really despise the mother or the father for sticking with that in that relationship. They despise them. The children, because there's a demon that was never really dealt with, they typically deal with that idolatry as well. So they find themselves in a relationship with a Jezebel, and then when they get in a relationship with a Jezebel, they got to discard their parental Jezebel in exchange, because you become a sacrifice, and that's when Jezebel knows what it's like to be dumped for Jezebel. So they go out there and get themselves in a relationship with somebody who's Jezebelic, and now you sitting up there, they ain't calling you. Now they acting up, and now you sitting up there trying to figure out what happened to my baby. I gave him everything. Now he got a wife, and he ain't got nothing to do with you. He ain't got nothing to do with you because his wife, Sister Jamacia, God bless you, sis. Thank you, sis. His wife couldn't handle watching you be Jezebel by somebody else. So now he ain't got nothing to do with you. That's how those relationships end. There's nothing good coming that comes out of idolatry. Nothing. There's nothing good that comes out of idolatry. God says, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And he said, everything else will be added to you. One of the things I've learned, having been a former idol worshiper, is that, and I mean this with my whole heart. I know a lot of times we can say things and they can sound real good or what have you, things that, a lot of times in the church we can kind of rehearse what we've heard other people say or what have you. And I think a lot of people they come from their heart when they're teaching, but then a lot of times a lot of things are rehearsed. But I mean this from my heart. I'm talking from experience. When I came out of idol worship, I got to know God on not only a different level, but the things that I thought I needed, I found it in God. And I didn't have to go on I didn't have to go on this roller coaster. Like God gave me the answer to every question without me even having to ask it. He taught me how to be the answer. I have more joy and more peace now than I did in a relationship. Not saying I look forward to getting married again, but ain't no man gonna be my everything, period, point blank. I have it all now. I'm telling you that for those of you who struggle with that, believe it or not, you will never find what you're looking for. You will still be lonely in those relationships. Tell me I'm a lie. Because you couldn't. You just scared of being alone. But you deal with loneliness in a relationship because the narcissist will emotionally abandon you repeatedly. They will emotionally abandon you. You deal with loneliness in a relationship, and the crazy thing is, I am not lonely now. I'm too busy to be lonely. I always joke. I say, loneliness and fear and all those things that try to come my way. I'll be like, you got to go get in line. I got too much stuff to do. Apostle Ivor Hopkins is, yeah, he is. He's awesome. There are so many people who will go in their grave not knowing what it's like to be loved. You will never find out what it's like to be loved in an idolatrous relationship. It just doesn't happen. You got to give that little love that you got. I don't care how bruised it is. I don't care how temporary it is. You got to give it to God until He takes the conditions off of it and He turns that thing into perfect love. That's God's kind of love. That's agape. You got to keep doing that until you become content. When you become content with being alone, and this is to the sisters. Funny thing is, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord. One thing about a man is designed to hunt. Any man that wants to be hunted is feminine. Even, I don't care how masculine he is on the outside, he has feminine beliefs. When you become a wife and you're content with God, you have so much peace. You have too much to lose, which is why you will start running. That's when you become a wife, you run. You run away. Somebody talking about some bone of my bone. Ooh, ooh. But when you're desperate, you run toward the object. You are the deer that was supposed to be. You are the deer running toward the lion. And the lion sitting there looking like, I ain't never had a chicken nugget to come after me. Because you are content. When you have something new, I have peace. I genuinely have the peace that surpasses all understanding. I never had that before in my life. I have peace. So I'm a runner. I'm a track star. Heard that on TikTok, y'all forgive me. But I'm saying that to say, when you have something to lose, you're not so easy. Because I do have peace and I ain't willing to give it up. I have peace. It ain't for sale. I have peace. That surpasses all understanding. I've told you guys before. I remember saying this to God. I said, God, am I made peace an idol? Is it possible? He said, and he told me, he said, it's possible to make anything an idol. But because I got to the space where I was like, well, God, why am I? Like I talked to a guy and I'm just like, yep, nope, sorry, not doing that. Mm-mm. Thought you, bro, it's me. Go ahead. And I thought maybe it's trauma because I've had my fair share of trauma. And God had to help me to understand no, you have the peace that surpasses all understanding. This is why you can't understand the peace that you got right now. This is why you can't understand the peace that you have right now. This is why when you get on the phone with a man, you are automatically going straight into testing that spirit. I don't want to hear that slow music in the background. Don't touch my hands. Don't do none of that stuff. Don't we ain't kissing. Ain't none of that. Ain't none of that going down. I need to know who you are. Because I'm not assuming. I'm not assuming that you're the one. I'm not assuming that we can have something beautiful because you look good on the outside. I have been married to some. Come on. I think it's hilarious when I come across a man who's a beautifully decorated demon. I don't care what you look on the outside. I don't care. That inside is what's amazing to me. I would much rather be with somebody that I'm not too physically attracted to, that's beautiful on the inside, than to be with somebody who's beautiful on the outside and rotten on the inside. That's grown woman talk. Some of y'all like, no, I hear you, Sister Tiffany, but he gotta have muscles and he gotta have this and he gotta have that. I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. But until you get into a space where you casting out demons and you come to understand the demonic eye in you, okay. I'd rather look at a dude and say, we're gonna fix your eye. Don't worry, just hold it like that. We're gonna fix it. Than to be with somebody that thinks he's God's gift to women. Don't know the difference between a woman and a wife. That's my TED talk. Come out of idolatry. It's normalized. Hollywood teaches the idolatry. That's what's normalized in our society today. When you watch television, it's normalized. All these romance comedies got you running around here feeling all jittery on the inside. If you got into your purpose, you wouldn't have time to put all that stuff in your system. How do you get free from idolatry? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Now, if you're in a relationship with somebody that you've idolized and you come to the spot where you realize it's a toxic relationship, the only way to come out of a relationship like this, because I tried to escape. I did. It was funny. I think it's funny now. If I ever did a movie, you guys will laugh about that particular scene when I was trying to escape. That was the second time I got married, and I was growing in Christ. I had grown to an extent, and then I had this moment where I woke up like and then I tried to escape, and God wouldn't let me out. And I didn't understand it then, but I come to understand over the course of time, God wanted me to die my way out. He didn't want, and see, when I'm dealing with married people or what have you, I will never tell a spouse to leave her husband or a man to leave his wife. I will never do that. I always tell people, die to yourself, put God first, take that person off the throne and put God back on the throne. Most of the time they're not going to do that, because if they take their spouse off the throne, they're going to lose them, and they know it. It's instinctual. It's instinctual. But one of the things that God had me to do was I had to die my way out. um he had to become a widow in that marriage, meaning the woman that he married had to die. He had to become a widow. So what I had to do was I had to get up and go to church. I had to study the word. I had to make sure I was obeying God despite the punishments that I got. I had to sit back and I had to love on God and be honest with God about where I was. And I had to sit there and keep choosing God first. I had to choose God above my emotions, because idol worship, the way the devil gets you is that people be swearing that you don't know you're still there. But the way that the enemy test, or the temperature test for idolatry, is warfare. So whenever you go on punishment, that's what shows whether or not you have won, that you have overcome it. Because if you go into warfare and you start bending to make that person happy, to make sure that that person doesn't leave you or that person doesn't cheat on you, because people who deal with idolatry will threaten to cheat. Idols and narcissists, they will threaten to cheat on you. They'll say something like, I almost cheated on you, or they'll make you feel like that. And so now they'll make you work to, if you go into the low place trying to keep from being cheated on, you just have to die your way out of it. Because if you don't die your way out, see, this is why God didn't let me out when I wanted to come out. God didn't want me to, because he knew if I came out with that still in my heart, I would have got into another relationship and idolized another man. He knew that. I would have been a gangster for a whole 5 minutes every time I would have been tossing guys. Yep, yep, yep. Nope, not you, not you, not you, not you. But as soon as somebody got in, he would have became my everything. So this is what I had to do. I had to make God my everything. I had to rely on God financially. I had to rely on God. Let me say this, because I think this is important. I remember I was going through a divorce, and we had just started going through a divorce, and I decided I want to try to do things amicably. I want to try to do things the right way. I've always been that person that, I'm not a bitter person. I don't believe in trying to hurt people in return. When they're hurting me, I'm just like, it is what it is. Um, so I made a decision that I wanted to get out of it in the right way. Long story short, trying to see. This guy had been hiding money. All this. I'm not going to go into the entirety of that, but he had lied to me about his finances. This is why he was insisting upon splitting our money, all that stuff. So his lawyer reaches out to me and says, "Hey, Tiffany, I need your," and I didn't get an attorney because, like I said, I'm just like, hey, whatever you want, take it. I don't even care. I don't feel like this. So, um, his lawyer reaches out to me and she says, "I need a copy of your financial affidavit for the divorce." And I'm just like, I'm not asking for a copy of his, what have you. So this lady, she was on me. So finally I was like, okay, I'll get it. I have my own business. I got to go, take it to a bank and have it notarized, the whole nine. So I told her, well, if I got to give my financial affidavit, I want his too. She said, that's not a problem. When you come to the office, I'll give it to you. Now, he had me believing that he was making $2,000 a month. He told me that it was because he was in a training program. And so that's what he did. He had his account, where the account that I did have access to, only $2,000 was being deposited into that account every month. But figured it was a training program. The career he had was going to be, easily six figures. So, just figured this is just the beginning parts. So he had me believing that he was making $2,000 a month. Well, long story short, when I got his financial affidavit, I remember I went to the lawyer's office, sunglasses on and everything. I'm feeling good about myself, because I'm being like a grown woman. I'm being a grown woman getting out of this. And I take her the paperwork. And she gives me his financial. And I remember she put it in this little manila folder. And I said, okay, thank you. And I went out and I got in my little, because I had a new car. My little car I had got off Craigslist. I went, got in my car. And when I got in my car, I decided to sit there with my sunglasses on and look at the financial affidavit. Open it up. What you talking about? He making over close to $7,000 a month, over $6,000. I sat there in that car. I had to take the sunglasses off so I can cry the right way. I sat there in that car, like just sitting there because it was confirmation to what I already believed. It confirmation what my mom kept saying. This man got a lot of money and he's hiding it from you. This man has a whole other life outside of you, all of that stuff. I'm sitting in the car looking at his financial affidavit, and I hit the lowest spot. I went from being a grown woman to being a child in that car. I went from feeling confident and excited because I'm being all adult like in this, even though I'm hurting, I'm still doing it the right way. I went from that space to probably one of the lowest spaces. And I sat there and I felt anger and I started crying. So I ended up calling back into the office. I'm still sitting in the parking lot, but I called. And I'm like, ma'am, what is it talking about? He got 6,000. He makes this much money every month. He been telling me 2,000, and you could tell she knew it. She said, because I don't know what he said to her. She was like, I know. And I was like, well, I said, considering that, I need to kind of revise everything because we had agreed for him paying, helping with the bills and paying off some of his bills. We had agreed to. I had said trying to be amicable, $400 a month for a year, just to take care of things. It was really just for me to get on my feet. Um, so I sat back and I was like, okay. She said, yeah, go home. She said, just calm yourself down, go home, and then just get back with me. Let me know the terms, and I'll run it by him, and no worries. So I go home in all anger. I go home in all anger. I go home, I sit down, and I start typing. Mine said 494 people on here, guys. 494. Okay, so I go home, I start typing. I'm typing up this. I'm gonna go get it notarized. I'm in my feelings. I'm in my flesh. I want $1,500 a month. Forget that. I want some money because I'm over here trying to be nice. I'm doing everything the right way. I'm typing this stuff up, all in my feelings. And afterward, I hit print. I was printing it up, and I stood up. And when I stood up, it's like wisdom hit me. I stood to my feet, and I said, God, I know this is not what you want. And I started being honest with God because you got to have an honest relationship with God. I said, I'm hurt. I don't want to hurt this man. I'm hurt. He lied to me. And I started telling, I said, but God, you know what? Forget my feelings. This is where you get out of idolatry. You got to stop obeying your feelings. Who needed to hear that? You got to stop obeying your feelings. Your feelings will send you all over the place and have you sowing things that you don't want to reap. Child Young Cat, God bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Will have you sowing things that you don't want to reap. And I had already got to a space where I realized I was reaping a lot of what I sown. I said, I don't want to reap this stuff no more. So I had to become intentional. So I sat there and I stood there. I remember standing there in the living room, holding that paper in my hand and crying and talking to God and saying, but I said, okay, I want to ask him for some more money. But God, I don't want to do this against your will. And the Lord said to me, he said, don't force him to do anything. He said to me, this is how you know it's God, because it goes against your flesh. It goes against your logic. That's why he said, lean not to your own understanding. I heard the Lord say to me, he said, don't force him to do anything. Ask him if he's willing to give you any more. And if he's not, don't worry. Leave it alone. So I called him. And I said, by this time he talked to his lawyer, in light of everything that happened, are you willing to give me anything more? Because got all these bills, but you got stuff over here. I got to try to figure all this stuff out and what have you. I was a little scared because I was going to have to be doing it on my own. And he was like, I can't, all my money go to 401k. It was a lie. I knew that. Nobody putting that much money in 401k a month, no $4,000 a month. So I sat there and I was like, okay. And he got shocked. He was like, huh? I said, okay. And he said, thank you. He was like, still making excuses. I said, you don't have to make excuses. It's fine. It's fine. I am, listen, a person like me, when you have a person that really prays, that's the thing. God gonna hear your prayer. You know what? Because you're intentional. That means that even though you feel like you want to do something, you're intentional. So long story short, I got off the phone with him and I called his lawyer. And she's waiting to hear back from me. And I called her and I told her, push it on through. I'll take the 400 a month. She said, are you sure? You can hear it in her voice. I said, yeah, I'm not gonna even worry about it. She said, no, I mean, because if you need me to draw it up and all that, she said, are you sure? I said, yes, ma'am. I said, I'm not, And I said something, I think I said something about God or prayer or something. And she said, huh. She said, you better than me. She said, you're better than me. Let me tell you something about deliverance. Let me tell you something about breaking that cord. You got to be willing to look like an idiot. You got to be willing not just to look like one, but to feel like an idiot. You know how much of my pride had to die in that moment? Where I have this opportunity where I can crucify him to an extent. But I made it up in my mind. I don't want to go in this circle or this cycle anymore. Like, I want this to break in my life. And I did what God told me to do. And I don't know who needs to hear this. I obeyed the Most High God, despite how I felt. I obeyed the Most High God, and I didn't put no fight in. I fought just to make sure I fought for my business. That's it. I wouldn't let him, take my business, but that's it. I did what God told me, and God prospered me. Brother Andre, God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, brother. God prospered me. Not only did he prosper me, God allowed that guy, to end up borrowing money from me. Y'all don't see. I was like a lot of you. I didn't know the Most High God. Facebook, be sure to like and share. YouTube, like and share. Facebook, let's get some engagement. I did not know the Most High God. I didn't know him like that. This is why he says, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. The reason that you fall into idolatry because you have not tasted and seen how good God is. You haven't tasted and seen. And I'm going to tell you something. This is something that I learned. If you struggle with idolatry, it is a wrestling match you will probably be in for the rest of your life. I'm not saying that you will be overcome by idolatry. I'm saying you're prone to it. If you're a prophet or a prophetic person, you are prone to idolatry. You're prone to it. Meaning you can easily make a person your everything. And whenever you become aware of what you're prone to, I tell people, learn the demons that you fight, learn the demons that come after your type so that you can learn a proper warfare. Because of that, one of the things I've learned over the course of time, because I know I'm prone to it, I've learned that, okay, if I have a friendship or relationship I'm building with a person and I deal with frustration or agony, I said it tip that hurt too much. It wasn't supposed to hurt like that. Yeah, you should feel the soul tie. That shouldn't have hurt like that. But and I know in that moment, not to cut the person off, but I know that I need to step back so that I can make sure that I'm hosting a healthy relationship as opposed to hosting something that could potentially be demonic. I've learned to navigate my feelings. I've learned that when it comes to intimacy, intimacy belongs to God. I've learned that with people, you're going to have levels of intimacy, but there's a level of intimacy that a human should never get from you. I've learned to stay outside of sin. I've learned to put God first. Has that been a wrestling match? Of course, because we are dealing with the fallen nature of our flesh, and that flesh we always trying to get first. That flesh always talking about what I feel. I've learned to have these conversations in house with myself and say, I feel like this. Well, I don't feel like that. And then I will respond with, but I don't obey my feelings, or my feelings are not my God. My feelings, I can't make my feelings my God. I've learned when I come in contact with a man that's showing romantic interest in me to test the spirit. I ain't agreeing to no date. I said this before. I need to wait. Where are you? Are you saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Spirit? Oh, of course. Okay, now you're dateable. Let me ask you a few more questions. Who is your pastor? Oh, no, I ain't got no pastor. I don't believe. Okay, you have no accountability. So can't nobody check you. And anybody that doesn't have accountability is going to wrestle with pride. Pride, anything pride touches, it destroys. Anything that pride touches, it destroys. So that means that I can come and tell you something, but you ain't gonna listen because you wrestle with pride. Especially when you discover my weakness, when you discover a part of me that you should have covered. Because we all got that. And every relationship is tested the moment you discover a person's weakness. Y'all ain't ready. Every relationship goes under the greatest test when you find a person's weakness. If you find that my weakness is fear and that changes your perspective, and instead of covering me, you expose me, come on. No. Because when you come across a problem, that's the problem you're probably in my life to fix. To point out, to say, hey, sis, you know, you're my girl and I love you, but I've noticed this about you and you need to stop that. You're too good. You're too anointed. You got too much on your life for you to keep acting like that. And if you can't handle somebody coming and telling you the truth, you don't need to have no friends. If there's got to be clap back, bounce back, instead of allowing a person to come into your life and say, hey, sis, I've known you for a minute. And one of the things I've noticed about you is that every time you get around men, you show off. Now, I don't know what so let me just tell you this. First and foremost, don't act like that toward me when you're around guys, okay? Don't do that because don't try to embarrass me because we already know how that's gonna end. And then two, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel like you have to act like that every time you get around a dude? Why do you feel like you have to compete? What is in you that makes you feel inferior? Not to me, but to other people. What makes you feel inferior? What do you think that you can accomplish that if you are the most brilliant one there, what do you think that that's going to accomplish? Because I want to let you know that that's not going to accomplish anything. All you're doing by acting like that is showing him that you're the most desperate woman there, which means that you're probably the easiest woman there, which means that at the same time, not only are you easy, he can extract more from you, which means that 9 times out of 10, you're more likely to find yourself in a narcissistic relationship because you don't love yourself. And narcissists will never be in a relationship with somebody who loves themselves. They just won't. Nope, because they got to be your everything. You got to have people in your life that can correct you. You have to be intentional. You have to be accountable. You got to be prayerful. And you have to have people in your life. For example, let me say this before I go. I'm going to let you guys go. A prophet or a prophetic person, you have to have people in your life that know when you're coming into idolatry with them. If you struggle with that, if you start getting into that, they have to step back and say, hey, I'm not your God. Give me a second. Let me find the scripture. And make sure I put Bible in this. Okay. Give me a second, guys. I am coming. I'm coming. I got to find the right words. Stripped is a part of my search. So give me a second. Some of y'all might know if you're a theologian, you know what I'm looking for. Okay, Acts 14. And we'll do English Standard English Standard. What did I just do? Oh, go back. We're going to start at Acts 14:8. Acts 14:8. Now at Lystra, there was a man sitting who could not use his feet. He was crippled from birth and had never walked. He listened to Paul speaking, and Paul, looking intently at him and seeing that he had faith to be made well, said in a loud voice, "Stand upright on your feet." And he sprang up and began walking. And when the crowd saw what Paul had done, they lifted up their voices, saying in Laiconian, I may be saying that wrong, the gods have come down to us in the likeness of men. Barnabas they called Zeus, and Paul Hermes, because he was the chief speaker. And the priest of Zeus, whose temple was at the entrance to the city, brought oxen and garlands to the gates and wanted to offer sacrifice with the crowds. But when the apostles Barnabas and Paul heard of it, they tore their clothes and rushed out in the crowds, crying, "Men, why are you doing these things? We are also men of like nature with you, and we bring you good news that you should turn from those vain things to a living God who's made heaven and earth and the sea and all that is in them." So other translations, so I was looking for the word strip. I think it was another translation that said, they removed their clothes, or they got naked. Now this says they stripped their clothes, so they may have gotten naked. Then again, they may have just rendered, what have you, but they were showing off their humanity. And this is what happens a lot of times when you come in contact with people who struggle with idolatry. Is sometimes God will require that you show them your humanity, or a lot of times God will allow you to see their humanity so that you can come out of idol worship. God will require that you come out. So sometimes if I come in contact with a person that idolizes me, one of the things I have to do is I have to let that person know I am a whole human. And you know how I can make them know, how I can let them know I'm a whole human? I may offend them. Not intentionally, but I may offend him, or I may say something. I may have to hit him in the scalp, because I'm trying to say, I'm a human. I cannot take the Most High God's place. I can't take His glory. I can't do those things. I got to give Him back His space, because I wasn't sent into this earth to become a God. I wasn't sent into this earth, or we are small gods, but to become God. I wasn't sent into this earth for that. A lot of times God will allow you to see the humanity of a person. If you idolize, if you wrestle with idolatry, that's one of the reasons why some of your relationships didn't work. That's the reason why you probably left your church. That's probably the reason why your job, you quit your job, is because when you wrestle with idolatry, one of the issues that you have is that you esteem people. I got to tell you, you esteem people. You put people on a high pedestal. You think the world of them. You put them on a high pedestal. And a lot of times God will allow you to be hurt by them, or allow you to experience that pain as a reminder that that's a human. Now, if you run your tail out and quit, then that means that you didn't get the revelation, because you're still obeying your feelings, which means that you got to go back around and take the test again until you get it. That is one of that is one of the objectives. That is one of the journeys, not goals, objectives, but that's one of the journeys that the idolater, or the person who wrestles with idolatry, goes through. Is that a lot of times you have to constantly deal with disappointment or hurt, because God is trying to strip you of that idolatry, and you have to be cognizant and aware of what's happening. Otherwise, you will internalize it. You have to be aware that it's not personal, it's spiritual. It's it's not personal, it's spiritual. You got with that man and you started thinking the world of him, and then he ghosted you. You know why? Because God wanted, now he wasn't the right guy for you, but God wanted you to see that I don't want you trusting. Don't put that much hope in a human. Don't you do that. You will set yourself up. You will set yourself up for pain, high level pain. Thank you, yours truly. God bless you, sis. You will set yourself up. So that's the reason why, if you wrestle with idolatry, you've dealt with a lot of disappointments with people. You may have been isolated yourself. God didn't call you to isolate. See, what you're doing when you isolate, you're trying to protect yourself from dying, when God wants you to come outside so you can die to yourself. You got to be able to deal with that. You got to be able to deal with looking up to people, getting excited about friendships, getting excited. only to have disappointment. Deal with the hurt, deal with the agony, but understand that what you're doing is dying to yourself. Because every time I've experienced that, I always come up with a different thing to protect myself so I don't do that again. What am I doing? I'm dying to myself. I come, okay, you got to stop doing this, Tiffany. You got to stop doing that, Tiffany. You can't do this anymore. That's not good. That's not healthy. That's not good. That's not healthy. I can't isolate myself and say, because I've literally thought about it plenty of times. I have thought about going back into my cave and isolating myself from people. But God said, no, I don't want you doing that. He allowed me to deal with high level agony. Having relationships with people is not easy for people who struggled with idolatry. Having relationships is not easy. For those who have levels of sensitivity, it's not easy because a lot of times we go through the highs and the lows. But God be like, get back up and go right back out. Because what he's saying, I want you to go out here, catch this, because what you're asking for is in his will. You're not going to get it in isolation. Please don't think you're going to get married and you're going to come out of isolation. Please don't think that a man's going to come in your life or a woman's going to come in your life and they're going to be your hero. That's what God's trying to deliver you from. He's trying to deliver you from that idolatry. He's delivering you from that and you don't want to hear it. So what you do is you isolate. You just go back into your cave and you just say, God, this won't come outside. The people, the folks in the church is crazy. God's like, I know, but he's like, you're like, but go back. Go on that job. I got to work for that narcissistic punk. God's like, I know, go back. And I'll tell you what I tell women. I've said this in plenty of counseling sessions. You have to learn how to stay in the midst of frustration. Because if you're asking for marriage, you're not going to have the ability to stay with the person you're married to if you don't learn how to stay on your job, if you don't learn how to stay at your church, if you don't learn how to stay in some of those friendships. Now, I'm not talking about toxic, demonic stuff or what have you. I'm not talking about that. If you don't learn how to get up and get past your feelings will dominate you. And the only relationship you'll be qualified for is a relationship with a narcissist, because a narcissist is the only person that can tame you. God won't send you a husband or a wife if you're a runner. Sister Eve, I love you, sis. God bless you. Thank you, sis. If you're a runner and you act, because this is how runners look. God sent me a husband in the name of Jesus. And God looking at you like, my will is back this way. Why are you running this way? I'm tired of people. I want to go there and bring them people. God's like, so you want me to send you a man who has been intentional in dying to himself, a man who has been prayerful, a man who's been praying for his wife, a man who came to me and said, God, if you send her, I'll treat her right. God, if you send her, I'll cover her, I'll protect her, I'll shield her, I'll be a provider, I'll never cheat on her, I'll be there for her. God, I will keep her, I will present her to you, I will cover her in prayer. You want me to send that to you and you have no perseverance? You want me to send and you have no perseverance? But you got perseverance for the wrong man. It's popular nowadays. People know that. They talk about it. You got perseverance for Tyrone. They hit you across your skull and slap you to sleep 3 nights in a row. You got perseverance for him. But as soon as you come into a Christian environment, and as soon as you get into some Christian, you got no perseverance. You got no stay. You got no, I can't take it. I had to leave that church. Oh, girl, you left that church. Praise the Lord. But did God tell you to leave? No, but I got tired. It was just too much going on. Okay, but how long were you there? 2 years? How long was you with Tyrone? What they got to do with anything? You were there with him 7 years, weren't you? No perseverance for covenant relationships. Did you catch that? Every covenant relationship, you have no perseverance for it, but you got perseverance for the wrong man. You know how many Christians I come in contact with like that? You got perseverance. So by the time you get to the right guy, your stickiness, your adhesiveness, your ability to cleave is gone. So you don't have any perseverance for the right man. So he got to walk on eggshells. No, everybody wants a relationship where they can be safe enough to be imperfect. Not to be say they be intentionally cruel or mean or do things, but everybody wants to have a relationship where they're safe enough to come home and not feel like themselves, not feel like I gotta put on a face for you. I don't feel like it, dude. I got PMS. Leave me alone. Everybody wants a relationship with somebody that can laugh at the fact. Women, we want a relationship with somebody that can laugh at the fact that we got PMS. Period. Point blank. We think it's funny. If you keep up with our cycle, it's funny. X did that to me. I thought it was hilarious. He would look at every time I got into that little mood when I would go to, because I would go through extreme high. I still do sometimes. I would go through extreme highs and lows. I would go from being the most perkiest, loving person to withdrawn and mean, and not even mean, just not wanting to be bothered. Just, ugh. And whenever I would get aggravated and he noticed I'm offended, I'm walking around, he would look at his watch. If I said, I'm like, no, because you're doing this and that, he would look at me. I forgive you. You have 3 days before your cycle. You're crazy at this time. He said, I'll be in a bed cave. I love it. The hiding place. That's a secret place. That's a secret place. Women love that. When a man can sit there and say, okay, let me be crazy for 5 minutes. Okay, don't internalize it. Monica even sang a song about it. She said, it's just one of those days when I want to be all alone. She was singing about her period. That's all. She was talking about her cycle. Everybody wants that safety. And ladies, hear me when I say this. And I'm getting ready to close, I promise you. Men want that as well. Don't nobody want to be in a relationship with you if you have no stability. So to Aisha, God bless you. Thank you, sis. To not castrate them, make you feel, dude, do you have a cycle? Because you acting like a female over here. Every time I look up, you going high and low and stuff like that. No. Guys have moods too. They have moods too. Everybody wants a safety to not necessarily feel like being bothered and to have somebody to say, okay, you're in that space right now. We talk to you, you good? You need time? You need some, you good? You need to smell? I just, okay. I'm just tired. They just do, oh, okay, okay. There's snacks in the pantry, okay? That's what we call safety. You want to know security? That's what we want. We all want security. I'm just tired. I'm tired of you. I'm tired of the kids. I'm tired of the dog. I'm tired of everything. All the folks at the church, they going to hell. They are just, baby, it's okay. Go lay down. I will come with the heating pad. Yo, you know there are apps to the brothers. Hear me when I say this. There are apps that you can download to keep up with your woman's cycle. They will bless your whole wild life. There are apps. I will show you mine, but I'm not going to do that. There are apps that'll tell you how many days a woman has left before her cycle. And if you learn the pattern, that'll bless your life. If you learn the pattern, if she get crazy a week before, because that's what happened to me. I would get crazy a week before, and I'd be crazy for 5 days. I wasn't crazy while I was on it. I'd just be crazy 5 days before. I'd just be walking around just like, I still struggle with that. I ain't gonna lie to you. I still be like walking around. I don't want to have no, I don't want to deal with nobody. But there are apps. This is to my brothers in Christ. There are apps, and sisters, get the app too, so you can know when you go through crazy, so you'll know that it ain't not a problem in your relationship. That is you going through those hormone issues. The app will change your life. If I go into one of those spaces where I feel like I'm sabotaging relationships, or I feel like I'm not necessarily the most friendly, I can go into the app and it say, you have 4 days left, and I'm like, ooh. So it's not the benediction. It's not time for me to walk away from this friendship. I'm just cramping. That's all. Get you the app. You said the Cherry app. I love it. I have something. I don't know the name of this app. It's just on my phone as PC now. That's how it looks. PC. Well, I typed in PC and it's pulling up PCOS. But no. Okay. PC. But that's how it looks on the phone. But yeah, get the app. It'll tell you how many days you got left. You can plan vacations, plan your wedding around that. You don't want to plan your wedding and end up your wedding night. You in the house and he's like, "You okay?" I'm just tired. The wedding didn't go right. The bridesmaid, her dress was better than mine. How you gonna be my bridesmaid? And you don't want that on your wedding day. You just don't. Right. You got that app. Yeah, it'll bless your whole life. I always tell women to get it because I've known plenty of women who deal with severe uh, PMS symptoms. There, and it is a real thing. There is a condition called dysphoria, I think. But there are women that deal with severe issues around that, and they go high and low. They become almost bipolar around that time. So it's always a good idea, ladies, to get that app. Hear me when I tell you to save it'll save your relationships. If you're one of those people that like a week before your cycle, if you're one of those people that get to a place where you just become really distant, emotional, if you happen to be one of those women, you need that app. Thank you, sis. You happen to be one of those people. If you extreme, because I'm not an emotional person, I think mine will save for that week. If you happen to be one of those people where you get into that spot where you just like, I don't want to go to church. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to do nothing. I don't want people around me. I don't want nobody looking at me. I just want to be by myself. If you happen to be one of those people, um, I'm gonna see if I can find it. If you happen to be one of those people, get that app. I'm gonna see if I can find the name of this app. I don't even know. Oops. Let me see if I can find it in. If you happen to be one of those people, get that app. And if you happen to be a guy and you get married, start tracking her while you once you get serious. Start tracking her. So if she get crazy, you won't take it personal. Because if not, then you'll end your relationship because you'll say, let's see here, Miss trying to see. Period calendar. Okay, thank you, Sister Tanya. It is a period calendar. But get that app. It'll completely save your marriage. I'm telling you the truth. Get an app. It will save your marriage. And then you learn the habits of the person. You learn the habits of the person that you're married to. And then you'll learn that, hey, during this time, this person's a little bit crazy. I got a sister in Christ of mine. And she's learned a lot about me. And she laughs at she not anything dealing with cycles. But she learned, for example, I didn't realize I do this, but when I'm working on something, I can become over, when I'm doing something, I can become over the top. If I need to get it done, I can get over the top. And she said, Tiffany, calm down. Calm down. It's gonna get done, or what have you. So that's it. That's my TED talk for today. Make sure you fight a good fight. Make sure you're intentional and not emotional. Put God first, guys. You will never have a happy relationship outside of God being first. I'm being honest with you. Been there. Once I won that fight, I had to come out, and He used me to help other people to come out, or He uses me to help other people to come out of idolatry. And do me a favor, there's so many people out there that need to hear this, that have struggled with idolatry. Please don't think that idolatry makes you a good spouse. It does not. It don't make you faithful. It don't make you anything. It just makes you crazy. So you want to make it a point to put God first. And whenever a person comes into your life, let me tell you the sign, ladies, of a man that loves God, that it can cover you, is a man that can look at you in your face and say, hey, if you start affecting my relationship with God, I won't pursue this relationship. You start coming between me and God. Because I've counseled both men and women. I've counseled men who were in relationship with narcissistic women. I've seen it. I've seen it on both ends. I've seen it on both spectrums. And I've seen that anytime the person tries to get into their purpose, that demon starts acting out in a spouse. I've learned a lot. I can say without any reservation or any hesitation that I have learned how Jezebel works in those type of relationships. I've seen many prophets and prophetic people give up and give in and give Jezebel the ultimate sacrifice because they don't want to be alone. And then I've seen people who sat back and who've gone for broke. They are rare, but I've seen people who've gone for broke. I've seen people who said, you know what, I repent, I made a mistake, but God, I give you my all. I say yes to your will. And they did it at the expense and they watched they watched their relationships fall apart. And let me say this, because I know some people look and they like, well, are you saying that my relationship is gonna die with Tyrone? No. God said, win the person with your behavior. There's a great possibility before you build a thing, count the cost. When you build a relationship with God, there is a cost. There is a cost. When you give God his space in your heart and your life, there is a cost affiliated with that. And it could be the man that you're with. It could be that woman that you're with. There is a cost affiliated with that. I won't back down from that. There is a cost. But God said you can win them with your behavior. So there are some situations where a person will come over to Christ. There is rare. In my experience, what I've seen, it is rare. But in some cases, in some rare cases, you counting the cost and you saying, God, I give you me. In some rare cases, the person has surrendered, and said, hey, I want this guy. I want this God that you serve. I want this God that you serve. And then there are cases, the majority of cases, where that person is acclimated to being in a position of power and being God in your life. And they feel rejected when you try to take them off the throne. God won't share a throne with them. He requires that you dethrone them, love them, but to dethrone them and not make them your God anymore. And they feel insecure when they're not on the throne. They feel insecure when they're not on the throne, and they will go and look for somebody else that will idolize them. It is a very expensive cost, but I tell you right now from experience, it is worth it. It is worth it. If I had to pay it 12 times over, I would. Prayerfully, I don't have to pay that price anymore, but I'm saying it is worth it. I can genuinely say that I'm in a space now where it's a good space, and I want to go deeper in God. I want to go further. I'm never satisfied with where I am. I'm always like, I want more, I want more, I want more. But to get to more, I have to constantly keep coming to these crossroads and allowing God to bring me to the crossroad and say, okay, do you want to go further? Every time I come to a crossroad, this is what he asked me. Do you want to go further? Or do you want to go back to comfort? And I say, I'll go further. I'll go higher. I'll go deeper. But I'm not willing to settle. I'm not willing to settle down outside of your will. I'm just not willing. I didn't came too far. I've come too far. I'm not lying when I say this. I've come too far to turn back. All right. I pray that you guys were edified, you were encouraged, you realize what you need to do. I would recommend a fast, pray, give God back his seat, and then understand that it's going to be a fight. I would love to tell you that you can make the decision that overnight all of the idolatry is going to go away. No, you're going to struggle with that. But you have to make it a point to not get into any idolatrous relationships. Don't put your body, let me say this real quick. I know I saw someone go, I'm going to give you this real quick. Idol worshippers are typically prophetic people who are highly sensitive. That means that there are some things that a lot of us can't handle. There are different degrees of prophetic ability or sensitivity, and not everybody can handle the same thing. So you can't take standard advice. So, for example, I was saying this to a sister in Christ the other day. I said one of the things I had to learn: I can't handle kissing. Period. I'm not doing it. Not outside of marriage. I had to make it up I had to go to God and say, God, I put my lips on the altar. I will kiss him at the altar when the pastor said, you may now kiss the bride. Then we can kiss. Kissing is foreplay. I can't handle it. Y'all know you can't handle it and you still do it. You still kiss the dude and then be up there like, girl. Woo. No, why? Why would you do that? Why you know my saying? Why heat up the oven if you're not gonna put anything in it? I can't handle touch. I can't. I'm sensitive. I can't. I'm sensitive. I had to realize that. I had to realize that. Church hugs are a real thing. You need to do church. Yeah. That frontal hug, I had to renounce that. That front. Nope. 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 It's a side hug for me. You got to know what you can handle because there are degrees of sensitivity, and not everybody has the same degree of sensitivity. Some people will say, "Girl, you just taking it too high. Girl, you ain't that prophetic. God ain't using you because He can't trust you." But I'm highly prophetic. That's how God wired me. So I'm super sensitive. So some dude walking up to me, grabbing my hands, it's gonna send shock. It's gonna send shock waves. It's gonna do some stuff to me. And so now it's hard for me to counter wrestle because now I'm sitting up here thinking that he the one, even though he ain't the one. But I want him to be the one because I like the way his hands felt. When he, girl, you gotta know what you can handle. You have to know your wiring. You have to familiarize yourself with your wiring and be able to say, I cannot handle that. I can't handle that. I can't let him wrap his arms around me. Mm-mm. Nope, I feel that body heat and I smell that cologne, and yep, it becomes a fight from there. It's not to say you struggle with lust, your flesh does. So the thing about it is the flesh is fallen. It's the flesh ain't saved, okay? We're yet being saved. So the thing is, understand that your flesh is contrary to your spirit. The two are against each other. Don't ever think that your flesh is not going to be flesh. Just don't think that. I can go over to his house, or I can let him come over to my house, and we gonna hug and watch a movie. No, you're not. You're gonna do that for like 20 minutes to an hour, maybe 2 hours. But before long, you're gonna be welcoming Junior to the world, okay? You're gonna be sitting up there like, I can't even believe what happened. It wasn't supposed to happen. He was holding me, I was holding him, he looked at me and I looked at him. And it was just like a quick kiss, and dang it. I said in my head I wasn't gonna let it go too far. I turned into a little grind session on the couch with the clothes on, but then the next thing I don't know what happened. And I ain't seen my period in 3 weeks. You got to be honest with yourself and tell yourself, I can't handle him coming to my house. He can't come to my house. You got to use wisdom. He shouldn't come to your house. You know how many Christians I've seen do that? Let a dude come to their house. Oh, he's just coming over, and we're gonna just see him again. They avoid an eye contact. Why you looking away? I keep looking at you, girl. Why you looking away? Girl, you're so crazy. You gave it up, didn't you? You gave it. Please tell me it's not on this couch because I don't want to sit on your man's DNA. I just don't. I'm just weird like that. I just don't want to be sitting around on y'all. Sorry. Tell me it wasn't on this couch. We didn't do nothing. Why you avoiding eye contact? We didn't. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Then you get a text at 3 in the morning. Can we talk? Okay, I lied, girl. It was just an accident. It was supposed to happen. I let him over the house, and you were right. You were right. I'm sorry. I let him over the house, and yeah, we kissed it. He said, I told you about it. He said, we kissed it. Yeah, and now, I don't know what happened. And now I ain't heard from him. I ain't heard from him since I told him I ain't seen my cycle. I don't know where he went. Let me ask you this: what happens when you call his phone? It goes straight to voicemail. What's his number, girl? Let me see. When I call it, it ring. What does that mean? It means you've been blocked. That's what it means. It means that he had his phone with you and you got blocked. All right, I love you. I know I might have hit somebody's trigger. Somebody sit up there like, how you know that just happened to me? Listen, present your body as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. Don't go outside the will of God. Um, don't go outside the will of God and be in a relationship. And then also understand this. Um, when it comes to sex, you don't want to acclimate yourself to other men, because when you do that, you get this thing called experience, and experience destroys relationships. Experience with other people destroys relationships because it is the evidence of a soul tie with another person. I'm not saying I'm not talking about the knowledge part. I'm talking about a lot of the stuff that you do in in the bedroom. That's a whole other message. I ain't gonna go there. But all that experience destroys your relationship. That's why the enemy wants you to be out here sleeping around, because it brings distrust. When you take your tail into the bedroom and you're trying to show this dude all your moves. All right, I'm gonna go. I ain't gonna go there. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.